So I'll start by saying thank you so much to Brittany and Patrick for agreeing to talk to me here today and to share your stories about circles.
Absolutely.
So thank you to Brittany for that beautiful opening. That really set the stage in a gorgeous way, and you're such an amazing teacher. So let's start with the question of how have you been using circles with students and staff lately?
I think we can start back at September.
Sure,
As
that's
our
a good place
first
to start. Yeah.
big circle.
Yeah.
And so I'm new here to KCLC. It's my first year, and Patrick has been really welcoming and open to my many ideas, and some have been quite successful and some not. Or I wouldn't say not, but some have had challenges. So I work between both KCLC buildings, so Castle Garden Trail, and so in September for Orange Shirt Day, we wanted to bring everyone together from both locations, and so we had everyone come together for a large circle, and it was really amazing for a lot of students who were, this was very new, one, bringing both locations together, and two, all coming together face to face in a circle. And it was amazing how people just landed in, because I think staff too were nervous and curious about what is this that we're about to participate in. But it was such a beautiful time. And obviously when you're trying new things, there's things that you learn from that time. So we learned not to have like unstructured time. Breaks were challenging. But as far as the circle went, it was beautiful how everyone came together just as equals, as people just coming together for the purpose of healing, of providing a space for people to tell their stories, to share our support collectively for Orange Shirt Day, for the residential school survivors, and for those still healing from the effects of colonization in residential schools, and to have a space where we could all meet where we're at, because people are at such different places for how they feel about it. And I think that circle was successful in being able to just acknowledge that we are all at such different places, and that doesn't make it not equal. It just makes it that we're in it together, and that looks different for each person. Yeah, what was your experience for that first big circle?
Well, my experience actually starts before the circle, and that was last year. And it's really amazing for me to think where we are now, and there's sort of like, so I think that I've recognized professionally and personally like the power, or like the meeting in circle, and I wanted to do that with kids here. And what would happen, or what happened when I tried it, so in my teacher brain, I set things up. I had chairs around and I set things up, and I was going to do a circle, right? And what happened was, because of this unique range of kids we have here, I had children who looked at that circle and said, I'm out. They got as far as the door and looked at that situation, and that was just too much, and they just didn't even want it. And that was a really great learning experience and reminder about, well, the power of circle, but also like the vulnerability and what can happen in it. And so it was like it was just such a cool exercise in empathy. And then I remember, and I'm glad you came back to September, because I remember being in that room, and it was so wonderful because I know the children, and it was so great to see, their different, like their body language in terms of where they were in the circle, how they were, but everybody was in it, everyone was part of it. And there was just that, I just remember just seeing kids and how they were entering into it, what they were doing. And also it was the first time that you were able to talk about your journey. And that really was legitimizing, I think, and really set a beautiful stage of vulnerability. And then I look where we are now. And circle is becoming part of our fabric. And so it's really fun to be able to kind of see this, this progression through to where we're at. And and we had talked prior to shooting this about some of your experience, especially around those students here who identify as boys here, heterosexual boys. And I heard this in Circle. I know we're going to be talking about circles, but we had a drum awakening at a Circle in Coins, and I think it was either you or Bev who talked about strong men holding up strong women, and that super resonated with me. And Circle is a place for boys to move through their vulnerability and start to become strong men, and also being able to see equally women and seeing just an equal circle. And so hopefully I'm not getting ahead of myself, but like those are now I see Circle as a place that is just the idea of being able to check in with ourselves. And again, there's this deep empathy where those who decide that they want to say or participate in the Circle, we just get a sense of where everyone is at. And that is, adults included. And so I think that there's something there's just something utterly so powerful in that. And I just, deep empathy is just such a great, beautiful place to start. And so that's, but it's so great to see that progression now, to see, where we've come to, and super exciting to see where we're going.
Yeah. And so for me, that was the kickoff to the year, really. And it was cool to see just how kids were buying in and engaging. And that was my biggest worry, was coming to a place where it's hard to build relationships, and it's hard for young people to trust adults when maybe that trust has been broken in the past. And but to see that we had our whole hallway lined with kids painting posters and making t-shirts. We had an assembly line of t-shirts going, and everyone was just so happy to help and wanting to help, and seeing a place where there was something for everyone to do, whether it was just to kind of sit off on their own and paint an orange t-shirt, to having the t-shirt press and being manufacturing, or to be working as a group and painting the poster. It was really, it was beautiful to see how everyone really came together in those moments. And then since moving forward from that, we have our weekly Circle with the juniors, which has been really amazing, and a really good place for them to just share and to be able to be open and to have the opportunity to just be heard in a moment. And some of them don't have anything to share, but to have the opportunity just to say pass or all my relations or whatever, however their pass is, but it comes to them every time it comes to them. And I notice that some days some have more to share than others, and that's okay, but they're seeing each other. And I notice that each week they see someone else talk, so then the next week more sometimes share. And being around the drum and starting with a smudge, I think that that's all really helped them to just land in a place where they understand me a little bit more on a deeper level, because I always share with kids that I'm not sharing these pieces to tell you this is how you should be in your life, that I'm sharing that this has worked for me. This is a part of my culture that I share openly with youth, because I feel like it's such good medicine for everybody to be in a community, to have your place, to hold your spot, and to drum and to smudge and to share these medicines that maybe later in their life, if they have an opportunity to engage in that, they'll be more open to it than had they not had that experience.
The other thing that I've felt and noticed is when we're in Circle and you have a circle of adults and kids, I can tell you, because I know in that circle of kids, we have this just beautiful range of kids that have a diagnosis. It could be, it could be ADHD, it could be oppositional defiance disorder, it could be bipolar, it could be autism, it could be, a range of things. It could be kids with significant anxiety disorder. It could be kids that are gifted intellectually. We just have this beautiful range of kids, and it's so wild because when we move into Circle, all that seems to just go away. like there seems to be a dropping of all those things and just an equalization that just, I can't explain it, but it is just this thing where, and Brittany does, and you know, I'm not saying this to make you feel good, but like there's like, you also have this really great patience, you know, with kids, especially when we're drumming, where kids, you know, you can see the oppositional side come out, like, or, you know, but they're accepted for the beat that they're keeping. And so that's just super, again, more empathy. And so that's another thing that I'm seeing here, you know, and I don't know, we'll talk, maybe hopefully get to talk a little bit about our experience with the Drum Awakening at Coins and so forth, but that was also another, you know,
Magical.
another thing for me where I saw a completely different side of our kids that I didn't know existed. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
You mentioned incorporating circles more deeply into the fabric of the school after September. Can you tell me a bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, so I think it grew. So I think staff noticed a change in their kids, witnessing them in Circle, and then so started seeking opportunities to come to Circle. So for Take a Hike, Chris and I hold a group every Tuesday where we bring the youth together in Circle in small groups, where we talk about hard things like puberty and becoming a woman, becoming a man, like what that looks like contemporarily, like in society today, like what does the Western view of coming of age teachings look like, and maybe it's turning 19 and you can buy and drink alcohol, or maybe it's like you can get a driver's license. And so traditionally I bring forward more like land-based teachings and more like spiritual centered based pieces around becoming a man and becoming a woman and what that looked like in community, because you were held by your whole community. It wasn't isolated in your family at home. It was like within your community. All the men came together to help our young boys become men, and our women and aunties and grannies, and they would all come together to help our women understand what that means to become a woman, to go through those stages in your life. And it happened at all different ages. It wasn't just like when you turn 16 you get a license, you turn 19. It was more based on like developmentally the readiness in those people, and that was brought forward by their community. And so that's been really neat, because Chris working as a therapist, and then me coming together as like a support person who brings a cultural perspective to the hard topics that they're bringing forward. And it also goes towards like mental health and substance and addiction and what is medicine. And so we look at both sides of it as like drumming and smudging, like that's my medicine that I share with people. And so for them to see that as medicine, I think has been a shift for them in how they view what I do, and how maybe they view what happens in our community around connection to culture and engagement with community. So I've seen it kind of becoming weaved into different places naturally, that it hasn't really been a forced thing where I've brought forward connection to circles and pieces. It's been staff who have said like, hey, what do you think about this? And then we try it, and it's been really successful. So I think in all areas of the school, we've been able to incorporate Circle into some aspect of the program, whether it's out on the land or in the space, in this space, or in the classroom spaces. Circles are powerful because there's nobody at the front or the back. We're all equal. We can all see each other as equals, and that's powerful when maybe sometimes you don't feel equal to your peers or to the people around you. That it's been really amazing to see the growth.
The other thing I would like to add is this thing called KCLC is this place in the margins, and our kids, I know because they tell us in their own special ways, in their own unique ways, that they lack a sense of belonging, and they lack a sense of connectedness. And circle and drumming is a way, and it's just this way where you don't have to say it, you just feel it, like a sense of belonging, a sense of connectedness, and moving towards, for our kids, which is such a, such a goal for us, is feeling like they're part of something bigger. And I see that. And I had this beautiful, not to be forgotten ever in my world, drum awakening. Oh, excuse me, sorry. This is the principal. We had this drum awakening.
Just wait till you sit down and then
Okay.
start, because we can cut that.
Okay.
Okay.
At Coins, we had this drum awakening and talking about, so there's this idea, not my words, but something that is that, I was talking to Brittany about this yesterday, that there's a saying that goes something like, we are not human beings in a spiritual world, we are spirit beings in a human world. And I've witnessed kids who have significant barriers in their world. I've witnessed kids firsthand, not prompted or anything, talk about feeling spirit and feeling connectedness, and they're saying that, and it's coming from their truth, it's coming from their heart. And these are some kids who have just like significant challenges with the world. And to see them leading drum circle, to see a young man sing, and feel nervous about that, and then move through it, so there has been, and then the other piece that I wanted to bring to this that we've yet to do, but happened at Coins, is bringing in parents. Bringing in parents to the circle, because I know at Coins we had a parent that had not done or had not been in anything like that, and I feel like that parent left a different person. And I don't mean to over dramatize things, but like it was a vulnerable piece to come into. And I don't think, you think about how we try to engage parents and kids learning. And then again, that's just this unexpected way, it's this unexpected way that, is connecting.
Yeah, and for this parent, it wasn't a parent that we've ever seen in the school. And so I think that drum awakening was so important to this young person that they pushed and pushed and pushed at home for the parent to come and see them in a place where they're being successful and where they're proud and where they're feeling like a deep connection to something more than what school is. And so to see that young person with their parent in a place of healing was so beautiful, because I think that the changes that we're seeing in our young people are going to affect the homes and the parents, and creating a more openness to what school is. Because for them, I think that was because it was off school hours, so it was choice to come to this in community, and to see our young people who sometimes it's hard to get them to school, to choose to come to a school activity off school hours in community with a lot of unknown factors of who's going to be there, who's the community that's going to be doing this, and for them to all show up. Like we had, I think, 8 of our students and a parent and community, and that's huge. Like that, just to get there is huge, to get through those doors, to come and sit in circle with a lot of people they don't know, but then to just be celebrated. And the community has just responded in such beautiful ways that Daryl was saying that after the drum circle, he's like, that must have went well, because I've had 4 phone calls from community, and one community person actually come physically to the building to say, like, this is amazing to see these kids showing up in these ways. And sometimes there's stereotypes and thoughts around who goes to KCLC and what KCLC is, and all it is it's an alternate setting for learning, and we provide that here. We meet kids where we're at and where they're at, and I think that that's so cool to see the community seeing that, like, wow, they're doing some pretty cool things at that school, and look at these youth coming into places where they may not have been seen or heard before, but now they're like having a voice in community and being present, being engaged, and seeking different medicine, because substance use is very prevalent within all of our youth, not just KCLC, but in general in all of our communities. And for them to choose to show up sober and to choose a different medicine to use, and to be smudging and drumming and having moments of sobriety, to see that you can feel a deeper sense of connection to self and community, not just through drugs and alcohol, that you can get those same feelings in other places. And I think that's cool to see how that they're shifting and thinking about medicine as not just pharmaceuticals, not just self-medicating, but medicating can also be just a feeling that you can have for yourself and who you surround yourself with, and the opportunities that you choose to step into is so cool.
Yeah, and for a student to sense and feel and be able to articulate being in spirit, now we have somebody ready to learn. Now we have somebody who's all of those, all those needs, during that time we were able to provide food, we were able to provide all the basics, all of the things we know that a human needs in order to move that brain into a space of, learning and all of the vulnerability that comes around with that. So, and I don't know if the other piece that I really was wanting to add, and it's a personal piece, but it's also a professional piece, and it's profound. It was a profound paradigm shift for me, I guess, or profound awakening. I was at a mental health in schools conference, which was a provincial conference a couple of weeks ago. Ministers from the provincial government there. So a lot of people, and we're talking about mental health in schools. And what came up casually in the conversation, which I just super connected to, was somebody in one of the presentations mentioned colonial therapy. And I've never thought of this idea of being in a room with a therapist or a counselor and moving through your things and stuff and being listened to and all of those things, and that therapeutic approach. And that's something that at KCLC we haven't had enough of. And so it's always been a place for me that I've really strongly wanted to advocate for, to support our kids. And I never looked at it from that colonial perspective as this one way. And it's a great way, and there's no judgment passed on it. I'm, one of those people who certainly, participated actively in that work, and that personal work. But part of the magic has been that there's this circle, there's this drum, the drum's always available. Don't have to wait for somebody to come in. It's with other people. And so it's legitimizing, it's empathic, it's all of it's physical, it's so many things that it's just this beautiful thing that came in through this different direction into our school community that has made a profound, that is meeting and exceeding this. And again, it's just a better fit. It's not a better fit, it's a different fit in terms of and having staff participating alongside. It's not in a closed room with the drawers, it's secret. We don't want to know what's going on in there and stuff like that. And so, it's this thing that's happened that is now, now for me as a principal, and an educator, it's something that is now just sort of has to be in order for, and it's so good for our staff too. And and so it's something that's just been a significant impact on my personal and professional life. And I'm so deeply grateful for you.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be so well received in a place where it's brand new this year. And so when Patrick and I talked at the beginning of the year, well, even at the end of last year, feeling like this year was going to be just slow and just getting my feet in and starting to just build relationships. And that was my intention for this year, is building relationships and taking it slow. And so for me, I don't feel necessarily that it's went slow, but it's definitely built relationships. And I feel like this builds relationships, and that's a place where we can all come together. That has been my greatest growth in as a cultural teacher, as somebody who shares in community and in the schools. This is where that magic happens, is by coming to Circle as equals and being supported by our elders. We've had some beautiful elders and knowledge keepers in to help hold space in our circles with us and share teachings and guidance on just life, and they're so understanding and really just meet people where they're at. That for our kids, we have a variety of different needs, and I feel that all of those can be met when you come together as equals in a circle. That it's always an option to pass, it's always an option to step out, and I think that setting those kind of foundations for what circle work looks like is so important, that kids understand that it's not mandatory. You're not forced into circle, you choose to come to circle. The beautiful thing about circles is there's always room for more. You just step back, you can make it as big or as small as you need, and that kids get familiar with the teachings of circles before just coming into one. And so I liked how Patrick spoke to his kind of teacher approach to circle, like just getting it set and like just doing a thing. And then some kids are like, whoa, what is this? Like, what are we doing here? And so it's learning, and we are all learning, and we're learning together. The kids are learning with us, but taking the time to really normalize circle work is, I think, going to be the foundation for future success of our kids, of just disconnecting and connecting in places where, because it's amazing that we have such a challenging time with like cell phones and devices, and that's hard to compete with. That is, you don't have that instant gratification of like TikTok and Instagrams and all these different things that kids are so into. And so what I've noticed in circles and in community, when kids are fully engaged and in an experience, you don't see the cell phones coming out.
Yeah, the drum trumps the internet.
Yeah.
It totally does.
It really does, and that's powerful, because not many things do, especially as educators. Like, we're up against something, some huge platforms that kids are like really into, and so I've noticed that this does kind of take priority over all of that other stuff, which is really neat to see. And how kids notice too is like, wow, I was disconnected for an hour and I feel so good about that experience, that we're hopeful in that building on this work is going to help them to start to be able to figure out how they can balance, because there's no such thing as a perfect life, but there's things that we can help balance for having holistic health within our lives, as looking at our mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical well-beings, is that circle work attends to all of those pieces. And it looks different for each person in that circle, what's being attended to for them. But I think that that's been another big takeaway for kids, is just what that feels like and what it looks like. Because spirit or spirituality, I think it used to have kind of a really sensitive approach to it, and it was really, people were either really guarded or standoffish, or it felt like that needed to be held within a religion, or it was something that only certain people could do or experience. And I think just normalizing that spirit's a feeling, and it's a way that you take care of yourself. Just as important as brushing your teeth or having a shower is making sure you have spiritual connections in your life that are meaningful, and you do them with intention and purpose in your life. I think that has been really big for kids, is seeing that they don't have to be a certain way or think a certain way to have a feeling that helps them and helps ground them. And so that happens through mindfulness, through drumming, through coming together as circles. And that's been just amazing to witness the growth. And like when you talked about spirit and spirituality at the beginning of the year with some of our young people, Some of the comments and the thoughts around it were interesting. But now coming 9 months later into a place of where they can articulate sometimes through words, but sometimes they have no words because it's just an inner feeling that they've felt in those moments, and that's theirs, that they can take away with them for the rest of their life. And so they don't always have to have words to articulate the experience that they just had, that sometimes you can just see it in their body language, is how they come in and how they can just settle into the space, calm, because for some people calm is not easy.
It's so fun to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Like, one of the things that I noticed too in Circle too, there's this thing that happens that you don't have to facilitate, and that's presence. Like we are in the moment, and this moment lasts, and you can see kids are there and in it, even though like sometimes they're like, they're proximal to each other, and doing what kids do, and hitting them, the drumsticks, and there's all that. You have this beautiful patience with that, and acceptance with that, and it's so good with that patience, acceptance. It just sort of goes away. It just sort of goes away. And I've seen kids, like oppositional, beautiful kids, not drum with the beat. And and you just have this wonderful way to be able to just accept that, and be able to accept that. And then it's so fun, whether it's not in that time, but as they move through it, that they start to just be as one. They start to, and we talk about like our hearts, following the beat, and our hearts all joined together, and you can just see, because I can think of specifics, and it's like they're in. There they go. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
It's very cool. And I think just for me, as a support person, is I don't feel like I have that authority, or that, like, as a teacher or somebody who would have to address certain things for behaviors, because I know I find it, well, not funny, but I find it interesting just to witness staff, how they land in Circle, and I'm facilitating the Circle, and so they're just being present, but I can tell that they get some big feelings when the kids are doing some things that maybe they're like, they don't want me to feel offended, or they don't want it to not go well, or for whatever reason it brings up some uncomfortable feelings for them. But it's nice to see how they just settle into it too. And so I don't address pieces, because in my teachings, when people come together as in Circle, and when you're sharing the drum and you're sharing that medicine, that you come as you are. And so for some of our kids, that's who they are. And so that's not my place to judge them on who they are in our community. That's my place to love them, and to just share that I accept them just for who they are, and that I share this medicine from my heart to theirs, so that we can become a stronger community together to support each other when times are good and when times are hard, that we stand together as a stronger community, because we embrace the diversities and differences of each other. We don't separate and judge and label. We just become one, so that we can be there for each other when we need that.
And so where do you imagine Circle teachings going in your professional practice, in your school, in this space?
Well, you know what I was looking at? I was looking at these sticks, and they're getting worn out. And it's so great. Like they've got, they've got wear on them, and I'd like to wear them out. But it's so cool having this skin on skin, and I'm really seeing the wear in these, and that really brings me great joy. In my perfect world, I don't know, in my Wave of Magic stick world, I would want to start each day with a Circle. Take the time, like there's just this thing, this slowing down now that I feel, and I'm not here to, like, I don't know, there's just this feeling I'm not the right person, or the person with like the knowledge and skill to be able to make big profound statements or anything like that, but I just feel a need of slowing down and taking time And I know our kids, and it's so hard being a teenager right now. Everything's coming at them is so fast and furious, and they just honestly, they're just so overwhelmed so much of the time. And taking this time, like, to, I just love to do that. It's so, and it really does, if you know, want to move outside of the indigenous place and space and ways, and talk about something like Maslow, and you look at, you know, a hierarchy of needs, and you see that, like, schools are basically designed for halfway up the pyramid, and so we need to take care of all the things at the bottom, all the things that we need in terms of a sense of belonging and food and shelter and all of those things, so we can move to that, you know, magical place of learning and growing. And so, you know, if we're going to really do that, in my perfect world, we would make the time and honor the time to be in circle in the morning and check in and just take the time that is so required to slow down. And, you know, the curriculum will happen, you know, but in order for the curriculum to happen, and for learning to take place, I just really feel, and so in my world, like that, you know, that would be, and I would also, I don't know, I would love to see, like, you know, kids taking on more of a leadership role in that, and really, you know, inviting parents to the circle. You know, parents, if you think it's hard being a teenager, try being a, you know, a parent of a teenager. That's a whole thing. The other thing too is I'm at an age now where, in my career, where I have, you know, children of, and I taught their parents, and so I see a generational piece to this too, that where, you know, it's yeah, where you know, everyone can benefit. So yeah, in terms of where I see it going, that would be kind of my, and so, you know, my evil plan is that we start small and start slow, and that we, you know, make a community, do start with a morning next year, and see how that, you know, I don't know, see how that goes. I'm planning as we talk.
Yeah, and I think for me, circle is a part of who I am, and it's a part of just how I live my life, how I raise my own child, how I show up in our community, how I show up in schools, is by offering pieces that I find are going to benefit kids in a holistic way, and that happens in circle. And so for me, it's more sustainability around continuation, on continuing to build relationships, continuing to bring elders in, continuing to support kids, and growing and helping hold space for strong leaders, that these are our futures. And for kids to want to engage in culture, like, those are answered prayers. That for kids to want this in their life, to want to grow in meaningful ways, to pass on to their kids, those are the hopes that we pray for in ceremony, and that we try, because we don't live in traditional communities in our area. It's hard to find those connections, and we found that through COINS. Circle of Indigenous Nations Society has been such an amazing resource for our school, for our kids, for our families. They're so loving and giving of their knowledge, of their time, of their energy, of their love and prayers, that they've been such great people to connect with and to be a part of our school. I think that our kids are becoming strong leaders. We see them in leading songs, and we have young boys who sing and who ask to sing, who seek opportunities to share their voice in community, and that's so amazing. And they've learned by witnessing people in community, strong men who have strong voices, who show up in these ways, that they're finding role models that they're seeing themselves in. They're seeing that they also enjoy being around the drum. They also enjoy sharing their voice. So how do they connect with more like-minded people to help them grow that? And I I just look forward to seeing how it grows in our schools and our communities, for a foundation for our future is that we need strong people and strong young people to be able to have a voice in our community, stand up for when they see things that are wrong happening, and to share culture, because I do feel like this is good for everybody. This is a place where we can all access healing and help and health for future generations, for this generation, for our earth, our planet that's really struggling, that it's all our relations, just not within the people, but when we think about the water and the trees and the plants and all of our relations, we're raising young people to care about that on a deep level, that you become equal to. We talk about humility, and I think that that's the one word that so many young people don't know the meaning of humility. They think it's like humiliation, to be embarrassed or to be shamed. And when you speak about like Wolf's Medicine and sharing humility, to be humble, it's understanding that you are special, you have gifts to share, you're important, but so is everybody else, and that includes the water, the trees, the animals. And that's been cool to see the shift, and for some people who didn't know what humility was at the beginning of the year, to now being able to explain it in circle to other people who come in not knowing what that word means, and they're like, well, actually this is what I learned about that word. And that's amazing to see kids sharing with other kids around teachings that they're receiving.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm not sure if kids get, but maybe they get on a deeper level or a subconscious level too. And it's something that really resonated, I think, in Richard Wagamese' book, One Drum. And you know, that idea, and you mentioned it in Circle with Kids, about that first breath. And you know, I think that our kids, and exploring that a little bit, you know, because that first breath is a magical one and we all take it, and then a lot can happen to us, you know, a lot of adverse childhood experiences and trauma and things like that our kids have, and people and our staff have moved through, and there's just this beautiful equalizing place and space in that first breath, that there's a sense of belonging there, and a sense of we're all the same, and then the things that then we're gonna work through all the things that happened afterwards, you know. And so there's also that piece too that that really resonates with me, and I think that really gives us a, you know, again, it gives us like you know, a feeling of again more of belonging, and feeling like, you know, and a feeling of connectedness. And you know, the other thing too in terms of Circle, moving forward too, is I would love also to be able to move more out onto the land. That would be that, and we're, you know, in the Kootenays, and so that would be, you know, another thing that I would love to aspire towards, where we're out of this like capsule and container called a school, and as we're rethinking this capsule and container and what happens here, but I also would like to be, you know, out there and in amongst them and on the land, and then all of the magic that could happen and is, but that can be continuing to happen out there, especially being in the Kootenays. Yeah, it's so exciting. It's like I feel like we're just getting started, but it's limitless, you know.
And it's May.
Yeah. Well, we started the year. The other thing we started the year with too was like me thinking about like that it's not a school year. You know, I wanted it to be a season, because it's not a year, and a year feels like a sentence. It feels like, oh no, like this thing that's thrust up, like that's sort of imposed upon children, and it's this, you know, and it's this season, and then really to consider framing this 10 months as seasons. And I think, you know, I don't think we got there as far as I wanted to, but like at least, you know, maybe, you know, planting those seeds of connecting it that way. And when we do connect it that way, I've learned in seeing that's like so like it's such a universal. It's so like, again, it's that, you know, you're reconnecting again to Mother earth and reconnecting to the seasons and connecting, and then hopefully again that comes back around to this sense of belonging and belonging to something bigger than ourselves. And so it's another thing. Yeah.
Well, I think about our seasonal connections for our winter solstice.
Yeah, right.
And
yeah.
that was another really beautiful circle.
Oh my God, we did so much.
Yeah, we've had a busy year.
Yeah.
And so with our winter solstice we brought together people from our community. And so we had people from Coins, we had Dee Landsberg, who's amazing, artist.
And we were
musician.
singing.
we sang. We had Jesse from SD8 come and sharing just two-spirited teachings and connecting with some of our kids within our Soji community. And it's been, such a cool place to just connect on a deeper level, to not like the Hallmark holidays, but to what happens in our community, like seasonally within the earth. And so connection to solstice and looking at like what does it look like in our community, what do different people share. And so we did like oranges and cloves and made some decorations and bird feeders to honor like our winged ones that are hungry this time of year, and popcorn strings, and just like it was fun, but there wasn't a huge emphasis around like Santa and gifts and Hallmark holidays that families should be together and loving each other and things should be happy and fun for a break. It was you are gonna make this what you need, and you can do that through connection to community, through expression, through arts, through music, through all of these different cool outlets that we were hoping in holding space for a solstice celebration, that would help ease some of the anxieties for our kids who were going into winter break, where it wasn't going to be Hallmark holiday, and that's actually a really super stressful, hard time in their families. And so solstice was such a place to celebrate just what our earth does in this time. Welcoming back the sun, making little lanterns with candles that they could light at home, and it was super special. And so looking at, we're approaching summer solstice and what that's going to look like. We have traditional field games coming in June before solstice.
TV raising.
That we still have many circles to come, even though we're approaching the end of the year. But all of those places are ways that we're going to grow in our school, and how we incorporate circles and how we connect with our community and engage in life in meaningful ways that help kids heal.
What a ride. Yeah,
Great.
for sure.
Do either of you feel like there's anything else that you'd like to say before we close off?
I don't know, maybe this has just been, personally and professionally, this has been just such a significant year of growth for me, in terms of, I don't know, just seeing what schools can be and how different they can be, recreating this container. And for whatever reason, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of this, people call it bricks and mortar. I just can't stand that. I don't know why. I just don't love it. And capsule or space or container seems a bit more friendly. It seems like it's going to hold a circle better. I don't know. Bricks and mortar seems like 90-degree angles and institution and not a place for humans. And yeah, I'm where, it's just, I just love when things, when you're trying to solve this problem over here and you're putting all of the things that you need into it and you're working towards it and trying to progress towards that, and then this magical thing, because you're moving here, other things happen, and this magical thing comes in and says, this is the solution. And you weren't looking for it, but it comes in there, and then it's like, oh, that was the thing. And sometimes, you just have to keep trying to move forward on things, and it's messy and all those good things, and then And that's what's happened. That's what's happened here, you know, like it's just been so, the thing that I wasn't looking for is the thing that came, and it's been, and it's just filled and in such a beautiful way and met the needs of all of the people in KCLC, you know, and yeah, I'm just really excited to see what's next.
Yeah, me too. I think you speaking of Richard Wagamese, I think about a quote that I really appreciate from him is that nothing in the universe grows from the outside in. And so I think about all the ways in which we're helping our kids heal what's inside so that they have the capacity to grow, that we're feeding that, we're nurturing and helping provide the nutrients needed, the medicine needed for them to feel like they can grow, that they have a place to grow, that they have a community that's going to hold space for them to be who they are and to grow who they are. And so I feel that on a really deep level for myself, and how I do my work to heal from the inside so that I can grow and put out what I can in this world for help and health and connection for our community, and just seeing how people are really stepping into it in such beautiful ways. And I too look forward to just seeing how this grows and how it's collectively growing, not just here, but in lots of places. I hear about circles happening that just makes my heart so happy, because I've known this for a long time from my traditional teachers, and how we are in this world and how we are in community and how we help people to heal, and that we can't force people to heal, but we can provide opportunities for people to heal, and that's happening outside of schools and communities as well as in schools, on the land, in lots of places, and that's really amazing to see that it's happening and it's growing and it's working.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just gonna finish with the beautiful drum here.
I know.
This is like the third teacher in the room.
Yeah.